Morning, 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 and welcome to everyone. Good morning, everyone, to the drive time session with VJ Sal. We've got an additional guest this morning. We'll give him an intro before he's added to the call. We've got Adnan here. Good morning, Adnan.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, I'm good. Apparently, I think Lucky has been I think he got mauled yesterday with a tiger or something. Is that right?
I have no idea. No, I mean I'm sure he was due to come on.
What we've been told is he was told to, in one of his challenges, to cook tiger prawns. I think they forgot to mention the prawn and they said tiger. And he's gone to, I think he got mauled by the local tiger in West Drayton. Is there a safari park or something there? Is there?
Wow.
Is that right?
That could be possible, Salim. With Lucky,
Oh, it's
anything's possible.
Whipsnade. I think it's Whipsnade he went to, not West Drayton. He's gone to Whips Safari Park.
Right, okay.
He's probably got someone said he got mauled. So we'll ask him when he comes on. He's probably got bandages and stuff on. Is he on? Is he here? We got Lucky here? Come on. Anyone? Lucky? I'm all right. Hi, Lucky. How are you feeling?
I'm all right. Yeah, it's quite a bad injury.
Yeah, is he? That's what we've been told. Was it Whipsnade, was it?
Yeah, I've got one arm missing.
You got an arm missing?
Yeah. Luckily, I thought it off. Luckily, I thought it off.
Who told? Okay. I mean, the point is, someone dared you to cook tiger prawns, yeah?
That's right.
So you didn't catch the prawn bit, and you just got the tiger, yeah?
Yep, had to be done.
Okay. So, but you're all right now, yeah?
I just about survived. It was 50-50 that I'd win the battle, the lion versus the tiger. Lakhi Singh.
The lion versus the I like that. So you're the tiger, are you, or are you the lion?
I'm obviously the lion.
All right, you're obviously the lion. Right, okay. Okay, so the point is, we're continuing with our general topic for this week, which is the psychology behind debt, which is like an underlying theme of a lot of things we're discussing. And we also, just for everyone to remember, the quote of the week is, your dreams are achievable, or your dreams can be achievable. So keeping a positive theme, we're talking about the psychology of debt. We're continuing with that topic. Lots of important things are coming out as we speak. We had lots of contacts and emails after the drive time. So we'll try to answer lots of questions. We're also lucky today to have a guest by the name of Mike Segal. And apparently this is the elder brother of Stephen. And he's also a martial arts expert. And we know about him, he was in the film industry, but decided to retire early, and that's all we have. So we're going to ask him to give an introduction today about himself, what he does, and we'll keep the theme running, which is the psychology of debt, and know all your dreams are achievable, being the week's phrase or the motto of this week. So have you got Mike on? The point is, we're continuing and know all your dreams are achievable, being the week's phrase or the motto of this week. So have you got Mike on? Mike, you've got, I think you've got some Mike. You have to either mute it or stand away from it. You want to see it coming back from it. Can you hear me, Mike? Hello? Okay. So, Mike, can you hear us?
I think Mike put the volume off now. But Mike, you need to put your volume on.
His volume.
It's on now.
Probably need to just put your volume on, keep it low, and then try
I'm not
and
getting this
keep
through
it
the screen. Can you hear me?
Now you find.
Yeah, we can hear you
Good morning,
now.
Mike.
Mike, morning. Okay, there's a rumor, Mike, that you
Okay,
are
can you hear
the
me?
elder brother of... Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can hear you.
So welcome to the
Okay,
fixer, Mike.
While Mike sets up his mic and everything, welcome again. Good morning to the Drive Time with Property Fixer, Lakhi Singh. And as I said, we will continue with the main underlying topic of this week, and that's the psychology behind debt. We've got a special guest in this morning, Mike Sigel, happens to be the elder brother, I believe, was in the film industry as a stuntman, but since left after fracturing both arms and his legs. And now he's gone to an easier profession, I think probably in property, where he normally is more involved in purchasing and selling assets. But I'm not sure, because we're going to we're going to ask Mike for him to give his own introduction so people know what life after stardom is about. Mike, can you hear us now? Are you fixed with your mic? Is your sound system all right, Mike?
Mike's not.
Problems.
Okay,
Lakhi. Talking
Mike,
of problems.
Mike, what you could do? Hold on. Mike could just, if you put it on your phone, Mike, that'll be easier. Just go to WhatsApp and just click the link. That's probably easier. That's what I've done because I had the same problem with my laptop. Yeah.
Probably need to type that to him, Lakhi.
Okay, well, Zishan can do that.
Okay. Okay. Adnan?
Yes, Al?
Okay. I do. Right. Okay. So today's topic, we continue. We're talking about psychology of debt and debt itself. Lots of interesting points came through from lots of different listeners. One of the key things that's been presented is credit file. What is credit file? What's the big thing about credit files and why are they so important, please? Can you tell me?
Well, there's no one more better than with a credit file than myself. I've had experiences of bad and the good credit files, and pretty much a credit file will determine your credit worthiness within obtaining a mortgage, for a loan, even for a hire purchase for a car. So the better score that you have, the more sort of the banks will trust your ability to pay back the actual lending. In my case, I'm probably average at present, so there's certain products I can't go for and certain products I can go for. So
okay, explain to the viewers what you mean by products. Is it like buying particular type of products from dodgy online shops products, or are you talking about when you say products, what are you talking about?
So in terms of product, it'd be financial products. So if you have a higher or much better credit score, then you'll get the lower interest rates provided to you. Someone like myself who has, and then depending obviously on your credit rating, you get a higher interest charged if you are a sort of a higher volatile sort of a candidate or customer.
Okay, so talking of rating, we've got Mike back on, I think. So Mike, can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Good morning, Mike. To the call. Great, we finally got you. Right, Mike, your background, please, and introduction, and tell us what you're all about. What do you do? There's a rumor going out that you're obviously the elder brother to Stephen, but I have my doubts. So you can put us wise.
Well, let's start there, shall we? I'm not Steven Seagal's older brother. I'm actually Steven Seagal's younger brother.
Like that. Good.
And,
First in the morning.
And I taught him.
Like that.
I still taught him everything he knows.
Excellent.
He's very grateful to me, and I've actually appeared in 4 of his movies.
Right. Was that pre-Hollywood, or are you talking about the other type of movies? Which ones are you talking about?
Hollywood. I'm his. You won't know this, but I'm his body double.
Your body. Okay, that's even better. So, okay, that made sense. So you actually started off life as a stuntman, which was where I thought you were.
I nearly finished life as a stuntman as well. It's a very dangerous occupation. You know,
very nice.
Falling off buildings. Yeah.
Falling off buildings. What you mean? Partially completed buildings, 2 foot, or actually sort of completed buildings?
Well, most of them actually were Lakhi's buildings.
Right. Talking Lakhi. Right, Lakhi, how you doing? You're on now. Right.
Yeah,
so
that goes back
Mike,
to the old trick of creating the problem, then fixing it, isn't it, Mike?
Very nice.
I listened with interest to your interview, VJ, with Lakhi last week, because although Lakhi and I principally have worked in different sectors across all the years, we have much in common in that we're both serial entrepreneurs. This week I've launched my 12th business over the years, and I look back and I wonder, you know, there's a good question: are entrepreneurs born or made, and what are the characteristics of serial entrepreneurs? I decided a long time ago that the main reason I've worked for myself for 95% of my working life is very simple. I don't like being told what to do.
I think that is a common chord. Yes, I like that. That's a good starting point. Lakhi, are you stubborn? Do you not like to be told what to do?
That would be telling. But I would say, yep, I'm definitely stubborn and definitely don't like told what to do. And that's the problem. That's a problem as well as a solution, because it can hinder your organization if you're a bit too stubborn and you can't work as a team. So there's a bit of a balance in that, in terms of trying to get things done as well as having it your own way.
That makes sense. And I think a lot of people in their early life probably recognize the fact that they weren't comfortable about people telling them what to do or telling them off. So, Mike, did you start off in the early days in a, in a top 4 or in a consultancy or something? What were you doing in the early days?
I was a trainee chartered accountant, and that was something I decided I wanted. That was something I decided I wanted to be when I was just 15. What I didn't know was that by the time I was 21, I really hated that profession. It wasn't for me, and I left the profession, and the profession left me. And I had a very interesting 4 years working in the music and nightclub business. So you couldn't get much more of a change. And I did lots of things like Lakhi. I had my own market stall. I was selling all sorts of items. I started wholesaling. So I had my first business when I was just 19. So I started my first business.
Were they profitable? Did you make money, or was it a bit more complex? Like Lakhi,
it made money.
It made money. Well, Lakhi's a bit more complex. I think he was trying to compete in the fashion sphere, which is a bit more high risk and a bit more fast moving. What type of products were you selling, Mike?
I was selling, this was 1977. So I got in with a company that had the rights to sell all the Happy Days and Muppets merchandise. So I got into promotional merchandise. I was selling it at Wembley Market, good old Wembley Market, and I then realised that why did I need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning when there was a big demand from retailers, and I was working hand in hand with a wholesaler. I just spent my time delivering merchandise to stores, and that was much more profitable because it was bulk. You weren't selling one thing at a time, you were selling lots of items to lots of people. So that was good. Goodness me, that was a long time ago.
Okay.
That was even before the T-shirt you're wearing, VJ, which I take it is the year of your birth.
Yeah, possibly just after, yeah. 92, yeah, that was when I was, born. I was actually, that's right. Just in 92 September. So, yes. Great.
So,
okay, thanks
So I don't want to bore you with my life story because I've done many, many things. So I'll just give you the headline. The core of my whole working life, probably in some ways similar to Adnan, I've been a credit management consultant. And I started off, I fell into it when I was 28. I had been working for 2 years for a small shopping chain called Marks and Spencer. I had a fantastic management training with them, and you're just another suit. You can't think for yourself. You just do what you're told. And I had just got married at the age of 27, and I had a mortgage and a house. And I thought, I don't want another job. I want to start a business of my own. So I started up as a credit management consultant. And for the next 12 years till I was 40, I honestly never looked back. I started with very small clients, and I ended up even today working with large blue chip companies, and I do everything for them in the world of credit. I lead large teams, I write credit policy, I collect.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, can I ask you a question then? What is it about credit score then that is intrinsically ingrained in the psychology of debt? Why are people so afraid of losing their credit scoring when matters are totally out of their control, and yet the fear of debt also is something that is a big problem in society? So you come from a credit scoring background, so you understand credit scoring and the risks behind it and how credit scoring is derived. So tell me, what is it about credit score that's so psychologically, controlling of a person?
Because VJ is psychologically damaging. One of the things I did for 6 years was I ran a debt management company. So I was faced every day, literally, with people who were fearful, anxious, and not to put too fine a point of it, some of them actually suicidal, because when you're at home and you don't have a job and you've overspent on your credit cards and borrowed too much money, and suddenly the letters and the phone calls start coming through. When in those days they were far less regulated, so much more aggressive and not taking into account people's mental state. So one of the things I do in life is I'm an ambassador for mental health.
Okay.
I now talk about the fact, which I haven't done for 30 years, that I have bipolar disorder. So if
so you're bipolar as well? Okay, that's coincidental. Adnan, I think, has got Terex, so he used to have Adnan.
I don't think so, Zalo.
No, is that not the case? Did you not used to sort of like come out with bouts of FMBs, sort of randomly?
Far from it. Far from it.
Was that somebody else?
That was somebody else. Maybe somebody else. Maybe Burhan.
Is that somebody else? Is it?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Somebody else, right? Okay. So Mike has got. Have you still got bipolar? Have you, Mike, or have you Or you've been able to control it?
You have bipolar for life. The hardest time of my life was between the ages of 35 and 44, when I was completely undiagnosed. So it was 9 years of hell.
So you'd have like a extreme high and then an extreme low. Is that type of manifestation?
Yes, from manic behavior right through to suicidal depression. So
how did that impact your relationship? How did you manage that? But did she obviously didn't know when you got married that you had this problem? Is that right?
Absolutely not. No, it manifested itself when I was 35. So we were 8 years into our marriage. We had 2 young children. So for her, it was very difficult. Fortunately, she's a medical professional. So she understood to some extent what was required and actually was incredibly supportive. I think in that situation, 90% of wives would just have left.
I think Lakhi had an issue. I think he used to was it elephant dance or something? How are you controlling yourself? He has an energy burst problem. Is that right?
I haven't got any issues. I think, if anything, if I don't get enough exercise, then I just feel a bit lackadaisical. That's probably the only issue. So I need to get my regular exercise and be healthy, eat good food. So I haven't got any major.
That's something called ANP or something. Is that right?
Sorry?
Is it ANP you had? ANP,
What's
was
ANP?
it called or something like that?
Okay, what am I putting my foot into now? ANP, what's that?
I was told ants in your pants or something. Isn't that what they call it?
That's true. I definitely got ants in my pants. I always like to be up and about. I like to sit down for more than 5 minutes. Is that some sort of syndrome, Mike? Do you think? AMP?
I thought you just took your shoes off and went for a walk on the grass.
Exactly. There you are.
That's true. That's true. That's the bit that actually keeps me not having ants in my pants. That's the solution.
So manic behavior.
A big shout out from Mina, just before we continue. Mina and as well. Bosun was just giving a big shout out to everybody. And I think slowly and gradually, we're going to try and work it up to about 10 people all at once, talking against each other, making a lot of noise. That'll be interesting. So Mike, continue with your interesting, so you had this bipolar disorder that's got diagnosed quite late in your life. Wife is very understanding, is from a medical background, so obviously she understood how to manage that condition. So then what happens next? So where did you get to after that?
So I was diagnosed in the year 2000. I went on to a standard medication, which is lithium. And I'm delighted to say for the last 20 years, I haven't had a single day's illness. So it does.
So that shit works, basically.
Lithium is well, it's an amazing drug. It only works for 1 person in 3. So I'm lucky that I was one of the 1 in 3.
Adnan relies more on weed and things like that. Is that right, Adnan? Instead of lithium, maybe you need to start taking in lithium jabs or something.
No?
Pardon?
Might have to try it, yeah.
Yeah. Can't smoke it, Adnan. You have to have it injected.
Okay, that's a bit too harsh.
Okay, the topic that we have to stick to today, again, psychology behind it. So because Mike, you're probably more in tune and you're an expert in credit management. Tell me what's happening in the market now then. Okay, let's leave the psychology debt aside for now. Tell us what's happening in the market with the way the environment is at the moment, the economy is uncertain. Are people falling through the net with risk and credit scoring?
Well, the answer to that is yes, very much so. massive amount of debt. We're only at the beginning of the cycle because whilst the furlough scheme is still going, there's an awful lot of people in work who simply won't be in work. We're officially in a recession. Things are going to get worse. I mean, I don't want to sound like a, doom monger, but the reality is that most firms that I'm talking to have suddenly become extremely risk averse. They're pulling down credit information that might say, for example, a company, you can give them £200,000 worth of credit and they'll give them 20. So this will not result in increased sales. This will result in a shrinkage.
You're saying that if we use that as a benchmark, what you're saying is somewhat the flow of money has reduced about to a fifth of what it was before. Is that right?
Well, even it's hard to, I'd say between a fifth and a tenth. It depends on whether you're talking about individuals or whether you're talking about large companies. Large companies often have.
Where's the bulk of your clientele? Are they companies or are they individuals?
Could you repeat that, please, Vijay?
Where's the bulk of your clients' work? So you help companies write their risk management profile. So
very large blue chip companies.
Large?
Very large companies.
Right. So are you saying they're not able to get liquidity very easily in the market now?
Well, they're relying a lot on their reserves. I mean, the last company I've just finished working with, they're a $6 billion turnover company, and they've been established 100 years. So obviously they've got money set aside for a rainy day. But a lot of companies, are very much hand to mouth, and they rely on their cash flow. And some companies, I've just finished working with a membership organization, and they gave all of their 40,000 members a 3-month subscription holiday. And this means there's a £10 million hole in their bank account. So you can't, unless you're lucky, you can't suddenly magic up £10 million.
Yep, that is it. Talking about £10 million, Lakhi, yeah.
Yep.
So things are going to be really tough. There's going to be something in the region of 750,000 people, individuals this year, who will lose their jobs and will start up a small business and find it really hard to get any capital. Because if, most of the people in this country, they live, what is it they say? I mean, I work with the homeless as well. And a lot of people are 2 or 3 paychecks from losing everything. And they rely on their monthly income from their job. And
That's really shocking.
And then suddenly they don't have a job. And if you go and talk to, as I do, if you go and talk to homeless people, you'll realize that some of them are professionals, some of them are ex-forces, a lot of them have mental health issues, and really nobody is doing anything for them.
Lakhi, I want to go across to Lakhi, because I remember Lakhi's had experience in Northern Ireland, where I think, Lakhi, you said there was a time. Pardon?
I think there's a statistic that came out from Mohsin Ramjani, who's regularly on this group, that he was saying that there's about 8 million people on the poverty line now in the UK. And
how many?
8 million people on the poverty line.
Wow.
18 million.
8 million.
8 million is still a large portion. And I think, Lakhi, you had experiences in the past where you actually were frequenting Northern Ireland, and you said there were literally suicide clinics on the high street. Is that correct?
Yep, there were literally, I think, 4 suicide clinics in central Belfast.
Yes, in Northern Ireland. Yeah.
Central Belfast. And the funniest, let's just say the very strange thing about it was literally they had a sign outside. It actually said suicide clinic. It didn't sort of say get help for anxiety or depression. It actually, they were all called suicide clinics. And that was the, let's just say, quite a sort of shocking and weird experience actually seeing that. This is when I used to travel regularly for back-to-back meetings to help people with the negative equity type problems, or they're about to lose their houses. So we would go in and negotiate the debt, well, half of them with the bank to get the debt written off and try to alleviate the problem.
So now, do you see suicide clinics opening up across the country in the UK? Can you see that as being something that could possibly happen?
I don't know if that's possibly going to happen, but I mean, from a buy-to-let perspective, I mean, if a lot of people are losing their jobs and they're all tenants, then what about the actual landlords on those properties? Then those properties will be able to get into repossession if the landlords can't keep up the payments. So
you're saying there's going to be, so there's going to be a knock-on effect. But the question is, do you see suicide clinics opening up on the high street in the United Kingdom?
I hope not, but I can't say. I'm not a specialist in that area.
Mike, what do you feel may be the end product of the 750,000 people and plus more who are, like Lakhi said, 8 million on the border of becoming homeless, or there may be a paycheck away from becoming under the poverty line? What's going to happen? Is it really going to be that bad, Mike?
Yes, it is. And everyone will go, well, that's okay, because the government will bail them out. Well, where's the money coming from? It's coming from the taxpayer. So those people in business, Rishi has just announced the likelihood in the budget that he's going to immediately introduce a £200 a year tax on the self-employed. So I really hope that doesn't happen. Just to answer the question about the suicide clinic, that's not going to happen in this country. We have an amazing organization called the Samaritan. So a lot of people who are suicidal, they're not going to even leave their house and go to the high street, but hopefully they will pick the phone up.
Right. So you're saying there's a good support network in the United Kingdom that will probably forego having to have, in-your-face clinics on the high streets. Is that right?
Yes, I'm saying that when you're suicidal, you don't even want to leave your bed, let alone walk down to the high street. So it doesn't come into it. There's also some amazing. There's
what
also
you're saying is it's going to quite factor into your daily shopping routine. Oh, got to go and stop over to the suicide clinic to pick some diazepam up or whatever. Yes.
No comment.
Okay. Moving on. The point is that we've got a psychology of credit or credit file. What I want to ask you, Mike, is because you're from the credit management side of business, why is it that after so many years, the structure of credit profiling is so basic still? So you could miss a couple of bills and your risk credit file could go from excellent to good, whereas and it's only a couple of missed payments, even on a mobile phone or on a small payment on a higher purchase of something. Why is the credit scoring system still so crude? Has it not become a bit more sophisticated in its structuring? And why does it take so long for people to add corrections to their credit files? Is there a reason for that?
Well, it's all to do with the way that credit scoring is set up in the first place. I know a lot of people who work in credit scoring, and if you look at the parameters they have to work with, they're really very simple. Even the most sophisticated models are based on, you know, did they pay? Did they not pay? Did they pay on time? Were they late with their payments? So you'd have to, and any other information about individuals is pretty much protected. So the problem with having a paradigm shift in how scoring is done is a lack of information, and also these scoring systems are embedded in the world of credit, so it's very hard to change them.
But isn't that going to be a problem because of the way the market's going to go? Technically, most of your population will not be fit to purchase or hire anything with the credit file, which means the entire banking system, which is associated with lending of any kind, that will totally become either obsolete or effectively bankrupt itself. Isn't that what's going to happen on that side then?
Well, I think it's just part of the cycle. Something that Lakhi and I have in common, correct me if I'm wrong, Lakhi, is we both took degrees in economics. So you see a business cycle of boom and bust, recession and growth. So things will be bad. I mean, in the 2008 recession, I watched so many people, everything. And so things will be bad for a while and people will suffer.
Okay.
The suicide rate has already rocketed. Mental health problems have rocketed. And no one's talking about this because the total focus is on the physical side of the coronavirus.
Exactly. So talking about that, the other day I read an article which was highlighting that the coronavirus isn't so concentric around respiratory illness as much as it may be more of a blood disease where there's lots of other symptoms that come into play, like psychology and organ failure or other associated illnesses. So isn't that really a compound of mental illness, though? If that was going to be an issue and people are going to be, you know, overwhelmed by their debt issues with the virus, doesn't that somewhat compound their position?
Yes, I mean, it all compounds the position. If you take an individual who's suddenly made redundant and they go home and they tell their partner or their kids, I've lost my job, and then they start to think, well, how am I going to pay my bills? And they get their redundancy payment, and then they go through that very quickly, and then they're left with no income. So then they turn to universal credit and get money from the government. And if you know how to work the system, you can probably get enough to just about almost get by on a very basic everything, because you don't get that much on benefits. And then you try and get another job. Now, I think the other day in Birmingham, 10,000 people applied for 6 jobs in a factory.
10,000 people?
Yeah, for 6 jobs. Now, I find that completely shocking because this is just the start of it, BJ. You know, we're not into the bad bit yet.
Well, that's interesting when you talk about job opportunities. I think Lakhi came out with something with one of his service lines businesses with Rescue My Properties. Is that right, Lakhi? Where you're offering free membership so that people who have lost their jobs can get into some form of employment or self-employment. Is that right? Can you expound on that a bit?
Yeah, we've got Mike. What we've done is we realised that you know, it's going to it could get very bad. So what we really want to do is genuinely want to help out anybody out there who may be struggling in any way, shape, or form. And one of the major things we decided to do is we've got a franchise model where people can go out and make self-employed income as introducers. Related
is it
to
the franchise? Is it a franchise? You say? Is it a registered franchise? You say?
Franchise because it makes it easier for people to understand. So, but we're actually releasing zero. Let me repeat that. It's normally £2,000 for basic membership, but we're reducing it down to zero, just to help those out there that are looking for a new income to have something that's theirs for free, to allow them to create a new type of income stream. Either if
is there a clever hook in this? Because it's all well and good you're saying it's zero and they have to pay nothing for it, but then have you got like associated costs that rack up to a couple of £1,000 that they have to pay, like to get the sticker to stick on their forehead or buy a special jacket when they're out or something? Is it one of those type of programs, or is it generally zero cost?
It's zero cost. I think if anything, the only cost is actually if you might have to if you haven't got a license for collecting data, an ICO license, if you're talking to people and you're lead generating, then that's probably the only nominal cost, which is I think £40 now, £45 with the ICO. So that's not even necessary, because what
about the office? What about where you have to get an office? You're gonna have to sit somewhere. You're gonna have to have cards and all that. Is that also included, or how does that work?
No, there's no requirement for cards or anything like that at all. Basically, with the package, you get a CRM system where you can enter in all your data. You also get free training. So everything's automated. And if you find that you are making money and making good commissions from introducing clients that we can help, it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling cycle, because then if you're making good money, you can also upgrade and pay a fee if you think it's an opportunity which you're enjoying. It's also helping you to make the income and meet your targets.
Okay, so what's the key fundamentals of this? How does it work? How are you going to make money? What do you need? Do you need a laptop? Obviously, you said without laptops you can't log in, so I assume you're going to need a desktop or a laptop. Is that right?
You can sign in on your phone. You can set up your email.
And laptop. Okay, good. So you don't need to buy a laptop. You can do it on your handset, yeah?
That's right. You can, then all you have to do is basically solve, if somebody's got a problem, they're losing their job, they're looking for an income, they could become they could actually become an introducer of the license model, like yourself, if you're joining. If you know a little bit about property, that's going to help, or business, because you're helping people in business that are in distress. Yeah. And then the type of solutions we're offering is stopping repossession, writing off negative equity, dealing with credit repair, and helping people to get their credit back up again to a positive point, so they can get some form of credit. To helping people raising finance.
That's interesting. Credit repair, Mike. Do you help individuals trying to repair their credit then?
I did for 6 years. I had a scheme and method that allowed everybody, it sounds unbelievable, but true, we had 100% record of writing off 70% of all debts. Of getting
70% of all their debts?
Yes, 70%. So they would settle at 30 pence in the pound. My business partner, who used to work in the banking system and the credit card companies, he told me exactly how to do it, and I was astonished. You just have, it's a long game. It takes about 2 years, and you just keep saying no. You keep refusing their offers to settle, and once a debt is 2 years old, they're very happy to regain the 30%, and that's in full and final settlement. So they would write to us.
There's an interesting widget in this. I'm going to ask you whether that's true. I want to ask you whether. and agree upon 30 pence to the pound. There's a little widget in credit management or debt management, and that is if you're paying your cards on time. Let's suppose, and I assume this debt management is predominantly for all of the unsecured debt, so credit cards, hire purchase agreements. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you're paying, so you maintain payments, they won't talk to you. Is that true? Do you have to go into default before they start talking to you?
No, they will talk to you. Why wouldn't they talk to you? You're a customer. You're not a debtor at this stage. You're a good customer. Let's say.
No, I'm talking about writing the debt off, or at least negotiating a settlement figure. Because I was told, I mean, this is something that we went through. We've gone through lots of different case scenarios where effectively credit card companies will not entertain you until you do not default in your payment, because technically they're saying you're a good debtor, you're paying your bills on time. Why should we talk and listen to you? Is that the way it works?
Because I've just been made redundant. I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to make my payments. So I would like a payment holiday, or as I did time after time after time, I acknowledge my debt. I'm very happy to pay you £1 a month. Now,
Okay.
when I first went into this, I thought they're never going to accept this. But then it happens time after time. They're so intransigent. The way that they view customers is so intransigent that you can just play this long waiting game until they have a ledger where everything is 2 years old. In my world, to collect a 2-year-old debt, you're likely to collect it maybe 30% of the time maximum. So they know their alternative is to write it all off. So when you come along and you offer them 30 pence in the pound, they literally snatch your hand off and say, yes, please.
But isn't this then, doesn't this alert to another topic then? And that is most of the unsecured borrowing that's taken out is not real. It's not really been taken against any cash revenue or any actual physical monies. That the credit card companies basically are creating a credit line for you fictitiously, so it's not being done against any balance sheet of any kind. There's no money against the credit card. It's basically electronic and it's imaginary.
Well, first of all, they factor all that into their prices. They know they're going to have a lot of defaults. And secondly, if you go back to what started in America with banks literally walking onto trailer parks and saying, here's $50,000, why don't you take it? And people saying, I don't want the $50,000, I'm just going to end up in debt. And the bank saying, oh, just take it anyway, buy yourself a new car or go and have a holiday. And this is what led to the collapse. All this unsecured debt. But they do generally in the normal run of business. They know how many millions is going to be defaulted, so they build it into their. If you look at their APR charges, they're enormous because they factor in what they're not ever going to receive.
Okay, so talking about not receiving anything, Adnan?
Yes, Al.
Yep. So what's your experience with when you went, because I remember you saying you'd been in an IVA, is that right?
Yep, that's right, yep. In my early years,
Right.
I've been in IVA.
Were you able to achieve what Mike's got, and that is sort of like writing down your debt to 30 pence in the pound, or was it better than that?
No, it's pretty much the same sort of concept. So I was using a debt management company, and they wrote off pretty much all my debt. I was paying them off. I think we paid off half the lot of the debt off up front, and then there was a monthly management plan that I was on. But then the only sort of downside to that would be like if you go into IVA, is that you are not eligible for any credit for 6 years. But as I was young at the time, I thought, well, I've got time to sort of, play around with that time and start building up my other incomes.
When you were saying playing around with the time, what do you mean by that?
So yeah,
when you say, how did you play with time?
As in creating other. Well, yeah, I mean, because obviously when you're younger, let's say for example, when I left university, what I was just working. I didn't have any mortgage bills. I didn't have any rent to pay. I was living with family. So that time it took to sort of rebuild myself. But there are a lot of people out there.
You mean like rebuild yourself as like a robot? You like physically rebuild yourself? Like an android?
No, like in terms of in terms of, let's say for example, just getting myself back to credit worthiness. So that was the time I took out to make sure I didn't have ridiculous loans or credit cards or car leasing on my head.
So how long did it take you? Was it a 6-year slog?
Yeah, 6 years. They had you on this plan. And once 6 years are up, then you're back onto the sort of credit worthiness with the creditors.
Okay. So, Mike, is that the same as your experience with the debt management side of it? Was it an IVA that you were putting your customers into, or was it more debt management? Because I remember there was an issue with debt management companies who are not the same as an insolvency practitioner putting you into an IVA. Is that right?
What we did was pure debt management. It didn't involve IVAs. A lot of IVAs fail. I think Adnan was quite lucky, but I do remember at the same time that at one point, Adnan, you also became a body double for Steven Seagal.
Is that right? Okay, I didn't know. So is that right? Obviously, with the fact he's got no hair, he's able to change wigs. Because I remember he was also doubling up for what's her name, Jane Ford as well. So I don't know.
In fact, looking at this screen, the only person who's never been a body double for Steven Seagal is you, VJ.
That's right, Rod, because I'm afraid of heights and I'm very bad at falling off window ledges and stuff. Smashed through the window of the house yesterday, bounced back onto the green. Didn't get the angle right. So I'm the only one. So going on from people bouncing off windows, Lakhi Singh, where have you been bouncing recently?
I don't know what you mean by that question. So what do you mean?
Okay, I've got a request in. Carolyn Williams, who's also a fond listener, we get lots of feedback from her as well. We have her coming in tomorrow, so we're going to have her in as a guest with Lakhi Singh. So she's asking you, Mr. Singh, to make some moves and invite her. So hopefully we'll ask the team and we can get the team. We'll give her an invite, so we'll have her in tomorrow as a guest speaker. Yes, so talking about bouncing through windows, Lakhi. I hear you quite good at jumping through windows and bouncing off payments.
Yeah. Good at doing.
You did a video, didn't you? A dying fly video, a breakdancing video. And apparently you did sort of like the last move in it was a dying fly.
I could jump 6 foot in the air and I could land on my back and I don't really feel a thing.
Okay, great. Is that like a bit like a fish? Is it out of water?
It's a sort of breakdancing stunt, but I wouldn't say that I'm a professional stuntman or anything. But I can do a couple of moves. I think once you do breakdancing, you'll learn to have to fall.
Can make moves.
I can make moves.
Okay, that makes sense. Mike, any experience that you've ever had in jumping up in the air at 6 foot and landing like a dead fly?
I think you're cutting out.
No. Okay, so we'll go over to Adnan. And what I want to know is generally, Adnan, in the last 5 minutes of the show, please give me your intake on the psychology of debt. What's your summary on the psychology of debt? What do you know about it? What do you think about it? Do you think it's real? Do you really think it's illusionary? Can people get out of it? Give us your quick summary.
People can get out
that's
of this,
enough. Lakhi Singh, thanks a lot for that comment. Can you lead on from that? As Adnan has said, his understanding is psychology of debt is an Can you give us any input on that?
You can definitely get out of debt by changing your perspective on what it is. And I think if you begin to realize what it really is, which is illusionary, then it takes the pressure off. Then it gives you more clarity to be able to think through things rather than have that pressure hanging on your head. But to get out of that psychology of debt is nigh impossible for a lot of people who are stuck in the system. So having maybe, friends or family or support, or, talking to us, this community, the Alternative Property Business Solutions community, we're here to help you. You've got some amazing people on there. You've got Carolyn, you've got Mike now. You've got a lot of love from us. If you want to talk about debt and its illusion and how we break the chains of debt for you, there's more than enough people on this group actually to change lives, I would say. So we've also got Mohsin Rabjani, so a big shout out to him, who's leading the way forward with a charity called Change Ahead as well, changeahead.org, in terms of helping people with homelessness. So I think we're here to help. So anybody out there, if you've got debt problems, one of the main reasons for this group is that we are alternative. We're not here to just plug and sell things, or that's not our main motive. Our main motive is to help you with your business, your finance, your property, your health, your psychology. So we're here to help. So here to fix.
Okay, Adnan, anything to add to that before we go to Mike, who's our special guest? We'll close off with him. Adnan?
No, nothing from my side. Sal?
Okay, no. So we had and no.
Did you have how you can help? None?
Yeah, go on.
No, I think I think he's got his eye on some chicken roadkill. So he's taking his eye off our ball.
Tell them about the sales structure that you got that can help people so they don't have to fork out so much in selling their property.
Yeah, so we discussed previously as well. So if you're vendors, if you're landlords as well, we're not exactly charging any sort of fees. So it's a 0% fee, yeah. So
okay, we've got the last minute, Adnan. We're going to switch over to Mike. Mike, can you kindly summarize for us what your feeling and understandings and your experiences are on debt, the illusions of debt, and is it actually an illusion? Is it real? Can you handle it? Can you fix it? Can you get out of it?
Debt is very real. People need to be educated and understand what debt is. I'll just leave you with two tips. One, don't ignore your creditors. That's the worst thing you can possibly do. And secondly, if you receive any letter from any debt collection agency, screw it up and put it in the bin. It's not worth the paper it's written on. If you get a letter from a solicitor and the court, then you have to act.
Excellent. So we've got two opinions, or two schools of thought. That is an illusion in one respect, but on the other hand, it's a practical matter. And with the practical matter, Mike says, don't ignore it, confront your issues, talk to your creditors, get them to write down the debt if you can, and that's probably the right way to handle it. On the other extent, you've got things like special tools like Adnan, who's giving a 0% commissions for sales. So if anything that you've got you want to offload in terms of a property and you're finding that the commissions are eating into the sale, you've got those solutions. You've got Lakhi Singh offering a free membership program for people wanting to make money whilst they're out of work. So all of these various tools and solutions are on the alternative business and property solutions community with Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, the property fixer, the property fixer. Thank you so much for your time, guys, and hopefully see you again tomorrow morning during the drive time, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Au revoir. Bye-bye.
Right.